1965. The Indian military was recovering from a devastating loss of war with China in 1962. India had recently lost its first prime minister and had just faced a big famine. India was politically, financially, and militarily weak. India was vulnerable. Ayub Khan, the president of Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Pakistan's foreign minister, and General Muhammad Musa Khan, the army chief of the Pakistan Army, devised a plan to take advantage of the situation by launching a military campaign against India. The plan was, after the defeat of India, extracting major concessions from it on the issue of Kashmir. India, under a strong defense minister Y.B. Chauhan, was quickly rebuilding its military, and it was only a matter of time before its military became too powerful for the Pakistan military. So, this was the opportunity for Pakistan to strike. The Pakistan planners, however, needed to validate the assumption that India was too weak to fight back before launching a large-scale military campaign against it. So, to test India's resolve, Pakistan President Ayub Khan and Army Chief General Musa planned a small incursion in a Rann of Kutch in Gujarat, India. The unresolved border issues in the region were used as a pretext to flare things up in the region. The border regions were not manned yet, so Pakistan's forces entered the Indian territory, captured Kanjar Kot, and established a post there. Indian forces attempting to retake Kanjar Kot formed Sardar Post about 5 kilometers south. Pakistan, anticipating an attack from the Indian forces, preempted the Indian side and attacked the Sardar Post. April 9, 1965. Owing to better logistics in the region, Pakistan military was able to bring in their armor and artillery at a very short notice and attack the Sardar Post. Despite a strong showing by the Indian troops, Sardar Post was captured. In its subsequent offensives, the Pakistan side captured 2 more posts, pushing back the lightly defended Indian defenses. Indian forces tried to form a counterattack at the Pakistan forces, but were repelled. Both the sides started accumulating forces on the border. It looked like the situation would quickly escalate. So the British Prime Minister, Harold Wilson, offered to mediate between the two sides. Both sides, not intending to escalate the conflict, agreed to a resolution through diplomatic means. At the end of the mediation, both the sides agreed to bring their forces back to the status quo on January 1st, 1965. Although Pakistan made no gains during this incursion, Ayub Khan and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto were able to answer the fundamental question: how would the Indian political and military leadership respond to a military campaign by Pakistan? They concluded India lacked the political will and military resolve to fight back against a military campaign. Now, they planned an operation at a much larger scale in the Kashmir Valley, codenamed Operation Gibraltar. Under the command of GOC 12 Div, Major General Akhtar Hussain Malik, around 30,000 Pakistan Army's Special Service Group soldiers, dressed in civilian clothes, infiltrated the Kashmir Valley to stir up an uprising in the region. They were named the Gibraltar Force. Pakistan planners had intelligence reports that Kashmir was ripe for a revolution, and with little help from the infiltrators, a mass uprising would be created. This would lead to India losing its grip on the valley, and Pakistan would be able to snatch Kashmir from India. Unfortunate for the Pakistan planners, these intelligence reports were overly exaggerated, to say the least. As reports of the infiltrators started trickling in, the Indian forces swung into action and started capturing the infiltrators. General Harbaksh Singh, the Western Army commander of the Indian Army, launched targeted operations in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir at enemy sanctuaries and infiltration routes. There was a clear directive from Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and Defense Minister Y.B. Chauhan. The only way to eliminate the enemy forces was to go on the offensive and destroy the sanctuaries to the infiltrators inside POK. Most of the infiltration was taken through the Haji Pir Pass, which was also being used as a key logistic point by the enemy. This was the pass that the Indian forces had lost in the initial days of the war in 1947. August 26, 1965, Indian forces launched an operation to capture the Haji Pir Pass. The Indian side, with some daring attacks and display of courage, captured Haji Pir Pass along with its surrounding peaks on August 29, 1965. With Haji Pir Pass captured by the Indian forces, the Gibraltar forces' route to get reinforcements was cut off. With the enemy infiltrators isolated, soon most of them were either killed or captured by the Indian forces. Operation Gibraltar had failed. This was a major setback for the Pakistan's ambitions in the valley. Instead of cutting their losses after the failure of Gibraltar, Pakistan's GHQ doubled down on their approach and launched Phase 2 of capturing Kashmir, codenamed Operation Grand Slam. September 1st, 1965, Pakistan forces crossed the line of control in the Cham-Jauria sector with the objective of capturing the town of Akhnur. Akhnur is a vital communication link to the important towns of Naushera, Rajouri and Poonch up north. If Akhnur was taken, the communication line to these towns would be broken and the forces here would be isolated. These formations could then be put under pressure by the enemy, forcing India to give major concessions in Kashmir to Pakistan. Based on the Karachi Accord, both sides could keep only limited number of security forces in the valley. Hence, Indian troops across Jammu and Kashmir were thinly spread. Akhnur was also lightly defended. To make matters worse, the Indian intelligence failed to anticipate an attack on Akhnur sector. September 1st at 3:30 am, Pakistan launched Operation Grand Slam with intense artillery bombardment at Indian forward positions. This was under the command of Major General Akhtar Hussain Malik. Major General Malik was a very capable Pakistani military commander and had planned the operation very well. 8:30 am, they launched a thrust with the division of infantry and 2 regiments of armor. The armor included the extremely capable Patton tanks and Sherman tanks. The Indian troops present there fought valiantly and gave the Pakistan forces a bloody nose. But this was enough only to slow down the offensive, not to stop it. The news of the offensive shocked New Delhi, and at 4:50 p.m., the defense minister approved the use of Indian Air Force to attack Pakistani positions. 5:19 p.m., the first of Indian force vampires and mysteers took off from Pathankot and attacked multiple enemy targets. They also gave a tough fight to the Pakistani Air Force F-96 Sabre jets. Indian jets suffered some losses to the much more modern and capable Pakistani Sabre jets. Despite the air attacks and the courageous defense of the Indian forces in Cham-Jauria sector, it was evident that Pakistan's overwhelming force would overrun India's positions at Cham and Jauria and eventually Akhnur. Major General Bakshi, GOC 10 Div, appreciated that without additional troops, they may not be able to withstand the onslaught for too long. Cham and Jauria fell, and with just one more attack, Pakistan was about to take Akhnur as well. There wasn't enough time for the Indian forces to induct fresh troops in the sector. September 2nd, the Indian forces at Akhnur prepared their defenses the best they could with the objective of stalling the next attack and buying enough time for reinforcements to arrive. The attack was expected to come in the early hours of September 2, but it never came. The Pakistan planners took a very controversial decision. At 1 p.m. on September 2nd, Pakistani Army Chief General Musa decided to replace the commander of Operation Grand Slam, General Akhtar Hussain Malik, with General Yahya Khan. In their estimation, Akhnur was all but taken. Whoever won the town would be hailed in Pakistan as a national hero and without doubt would be the next army chief. Ayub Khan wanted his protege, General Yahya Khan, to get this honor. So they made the change at the last minute. General Yahya Khan took command of Operation Grand Slam on September 2nd and instead of pressing ahead on Akhnur, ordered his forces to wait and prepare for a counterattack by the Indian forces. Not aware of the ground realities that well, Yahya miscalculated the Indian strength at Akhnur and wasted time preparing defenses for a counterattack. This gave the Indian forces a crucial 36 hours to induct more troops into Akhnur and strengthen their defenses. By the time Yahya's attack came in at 7 p.m. next day on September 3, the Indian forces had strengthened their positions and were able to hold off the enemy from overrunning Akhnur. Fighting continued for Akhnur for another day, and by September 4th, it looked again that Pakistan forces would overrun Indian positions by September 6th. The Indian side had to find another way to ease the pressure on Akhnur. This is where the Indian side launched their plan of last resort, crossing the international border and threatening Pakistan's most important city, Lahore. This was codenamed Operation Riddle.